I bukan dah selesai tulis halang ini. I don't go into the
Good morning. Just 8 o'clock. I think let's get the show on the road. Let me use the opportunity to welcome all of you at our annual report sitting. Some of our members will be online. Member Bosman, that is why you don't see so many of the members down here. And one or two indicate they will be late. They will slot in within the next couple of minutes, but I'm not going to wait for anyone. I think we're going to get started. I'm Dan Plato, chairperson of the committee, and let me ask the members online and the members in the house to introduce themselves, please. Member Baku.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm glad it's Baku Force.
Online, Member Bosman, please.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to the colleagues in the chambers. I'm Gillian Bosman, a member of this committee.
Thank you for that. And let me ask then immediately the Honourable Minister. I've greeted the Minister already, and HOD is with us. They can introduce themselves and their team as well.
Good morning, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, the committee coordinator, support staff and guests in the gallery and online. Thank you for the opportunity. We have 3 individuals who are not with us today because there are 2 on leave and 1 has a medical. But other than that, we have a full team, Chair, and I'll hand over to Dr. MacDonald. Thank you.
Good morning, good Chairperson and honourable members. I'm Robert MacDonald, Head of Department, and I'll just ask the team to introduce themselves, starting behind me and then going down.
Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. Ramala Patel, Director, Operational Management Support.
Good morning, members and everyone online. Juan Smith, the CFO for the department.
Good morning, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. I'm Dean Bali, Director Finance for the department.
Good morning, members. Leona Goosen, Chief Director, Social Welfare and Restorative Services.
Good morning, members. Siam Miftahrin, Director, Business Planning and Monitoring.
Good morning, Chair, members, all the colleagues. Julius Ben, Provincial Population Unit Manager.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Good morning, colleagues. David Dreyer, Partnership Development.
Good morning, members. Tasneem Rakib, Director, ACM.
Good morning, members. Esther Lewis, Head of Communication.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Monique Mortlock, Media Liaison Officer.
Good morning, Chair and members. Ananda Nal, Head of Ministry.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Tembekile Kwakweni, Acting Director of Children and Families.
Good morning, Chair and members. Patiswa Momoza, Director, Vulnerable Groups. Thanks.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. Lionel Arnolds, Director, Community Development. Yep.
These 3 people there far at the back. They try to hide themselves, but they can't get it right. Can you do the same, please?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. I'm Sharifa Mohammed, and I'm the Acting Deputy Director for Monitoring and Reporting. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Howard Jacobs, and I'm the Business Planning and Monitoring Unit.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. Naren Suka, Department of Social Development, Business Planning Unit. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Honorable Fry did indicate earlier he will be a couple of minutes late, but he's here. And may I ask the Honorable to introduce himself, please?
Morning, Chair. Morning, everyone. Apologies for being late. Christopher Fry, member of this committee.
Thank you, Honorable Fry. Let me just make 100% sure there was no indication from any NGO, CBO, or any member of the public that they will be part of the meeting. But I have to check. Secretariat, nothing from your side from members of the public?
Nothing, Chair, and no apologies.
And no apologies. Let's then get immediately into the business of the day. Let me ask the Honourable Minister to make some remarks out of her annual report, and after the Minister, the HOD, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the members. It's been a tough year. Coming out of COVID, we have battled, and yet somehow we have managed to keep the ship afloat. There are huge constraints out there, and when you consider the constraints and what the department actually delivered on, then all I can say is thank you to a team of people who really learned or adapted to do more with less. And I think that is going to be a recurring theme going forward, that we will do more with less. In the interest of time, Chair, I take it that everybody would have familiarized themselves with the content. And without further ado, I will hand over to Dr. McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think in line with what the Minister said, certainly we are facing increasingly tightening budget constraints, which is putting us in a very difficult situation because the demand for services keeps growing. And I think the situation is very worrying. We will continue to keep the committee updated as well in the coming budget sessions later in the year. But even the year under review, we already saw the impact of budget cuts post-COVID, where the projections for the year under review in the MTEF dropped significantly when we had revenue shortfalls in the country. So I think that's the context that we're working with. At the same time, there was a lot of operational redirection still during that year to assist with the aftermath of COVID. So there was a lot of humanitarian relief work that was additional to what we normally do in the department. And that's still something that you will see in the report. And in addition to that, I think we've had a year of adjusting back to some degree of normality after the lockdown and remote working arrangements. So there was some disruption as well during the year under review. But I think the other details and everything else is contained in the report. So I need not say too much. I'm sure we'll cover everything during the course of the discussion. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Marie, at this point in time, looking at the short overview of the Minister and the HOD, any remark, any question out what the Minister and the HOD have said? Honorable Baku.
Chairperson, I just want to agree with the Minister in this one that it's been a tough year, and hopefully it's not that when we ask questions or we are trying to be funny, it's just that we want everything to work well and we want to meet each other halfway. But I don't want to say I don't notice the difficulties that we are going through. We are going through as social development, but I want to say also we see the good work that you are doing out there, and hopefully we will be back working together again in the next financial year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Baku. Maybe just this one remark that is sitting in my head when I read the document, the report as well, and looking at all the issues we are facing in our communities, in society around us. What I pick up is the issue around hunger, the issue around malnutrition, the issue around people losing their jobs, unfortunately. Also as a result of COVID. What is the extent of the department's relief to the public out there?
Thank you, Chairperson. The department during the year under review received additional funding from Provincial Treasury to assist with food relief, and that was in the form of supporting community kitchens, where we provided funds for ingredients for them to provide in the communities, cooked food, as well as some funds for CMDCs, which is also feeding schemes, larger feeding schemes as well. So we were supporting formal NGOs as well as semi-formal NGOs with additional resources for food relief. And then also the COVID relief grant continued from SASSA's side. I mean, SASSA being the primary agent of humanitarian relief in terms of the Social Assistance Act. And at the same time, the department was also very lucky to have huge support from private sector donors, the Western Cape Food Forum, which is a big network of NGOs and private sector funders, as well as all the NGOs. So it was a big combined effort. And of course, the municipalities were also very much involved as well. So we were trying to do our part within a much bigger network of support. But I think during the year under review, there was quite a lot of additional funds provided. It is reflected in the financials specifically for DST to render food support. And of course, we also continue providing food through a lot of other operations we do, like the old age homes, the after school centres, and the community support centres for older persons, as well as the protective workshops for disabled persons. So there's a lot of areas we provide food.
Thank you very much for that. I note Honourable Member Windvogel arrived. Could you just introduce yourself for the record, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair and everyone. My name is Rachel Windvogel, and I'm an alternative member of the Sustaining Committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honourable Fry?
Sorry, Chair, I just want to check, are we doing part A or we first doing the opening remarks?
Just on what the Minister and the HOD have said.
Okay, can I make a comment on that?
Yes.
I just want to echo Member Baku Force to say that I welcome the report. Thank you for the report. And it's not that we're asking questions to be funny, but it's a very important part. And we understand that the department is working under extremely constrained an environment, doing a lot of work for people on the ground. I mean, we've seen it when we've gone on cluster week visits and stuff like that. So the questions that I will ask in coming is not because it's not personal. It's just that we're here to help each other. That's what I think. And we're here to be accountable and see what solutions we can find. Thank you.
That is part of accountability and part of oversight, unfortunately. Member Vos, Baku?
I wanted to register that Honourable Barnes will come later.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move then into the report immediately. Part A, pages 6 to 34, the general information section. I'm going to do it page by page so that we do justice to the course. Page 6, page 7, not much there to say anything about. If there's anything out of the forward of by the minister, that is page 8. Baku?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. On paragraph 1, Minister, I'm interested in your action regarding the recent SASSA crisis, while and your government have been vocal and critical of the situation. I would like to understand the concrete steps your department has taken. Yeah, that is on paragraph 1 on page 8. To assist affected beneficiaries beyond politically posturing. Could you provide details on the number of SASSA grant beneficiaries in the province and whether your department maintain a database of these individuals? Gathering such data is crucial for better preparation and response to any future payments issues. Furthermore, it would be helpful to know the estimated cost of providing each beneficiary with, for example, a 500 voucher of a store like Pick and Pay or ShopRite. This information would assist in planning and ensuring timely assistance in case of similar issues in the future.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Minister, would you like to respond to that one, please?
Honourable Chair, yes, I will. I think the most recent SASSA fallout doesn't form part of this report, but to alert the member to the fact that we maintain a very close relationship with SASSA in the province. We work very well with the provincial arm of SASSA. But I think what is important to understand that in Chapter 2, SASSA is tasked with social relief of distress, not social development. So what happened when SRD 350 came in, we saw the disappearance of food parcels from SASSA, and that then created a bind. Another aspect is the policy review that I believe SASSA needs to undertake, especially when you have disaster situations, as we would have seen with the floods. Recently, they're not quick enough out of the blocks in terms of all the administrative compliance. Let me give you an example. If your shack has been done, you can't be, it doesn't happen at your shack. You need to go to a place where they will take all the details. And many people are reluctant to leave their piece of land because when they come back, someone else might have taken it over. So I have recommended to SASSA that they actually consider reviewing their policy. Then when it comes to their database, SASSA operates of what is called SOCPEN. Their database opens at 7:30 in the morning and it closes at 4:30. We do not, as TSD, have sight of that database. So when we would have received all these numerous complaints, we have established a link with someone across the way. We will give them the ID number and they will go in. But one of the examples that surfaced during the most recent fallout was that SASSA's system, it shows as if a beneficiary is paid. But when you get to the post office, there is no money and the beneficiary is not paid. So the SASSA interface between them and their third-party service provider, that is where there is a bit of a glitch. We have not advertised it, but in extreme cases where people were without food for 2 or 3 days, we tried to assist. But I would have expected that SASSA would have come up with a contingent plan rather than, say the technical glitch has been repaired and it actually wasn't repaired. One of the other things, Honourable Baka Force, that I discovered is that the post office, instead of getting a requisition for funds locally, had to write to Postbank in Johannesburg and let's say they ran out of money on a Tuesday, they would only get money 3 days later or the following week. So that's what I experienced at Gatesville. When I was there on the Friday, all 9 people who came in were told, come back on Tuesday or Wednesday, and hopefully there will be money in your account. We interviewed those individuals. We called them up on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and many of them said, we have not received a full grant, we've received a partial payment. So those are technical glitches that are beyond the scope of DSD. But I think where the humanitarian aspect came in was the fact that there were many older persons who had to borrow money to get to a post office, only to be told to come back on another day. And that was not shared in that press briefing, that the post office actually had run short of money at the same time. So we don't have access to their database. We can ask them. We've actually put forward a request, and we asked them, and they said, sorry, we're flying blind. We can't give you anything. We're waiting on National to give us the figures. So my recommendation to the National Minister, and yes, I did write to her, and she said she would meet with me, but nothing has come of it, is that they seriously review their payment platform, because it is inadequate and it's not meeting the needs of 19 million beneficiaries out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Windvogel.
Chair, Chair, my question, I also have a question on page 8, paragraph 7. Point of reference, we have also taken the lead in introducing the Western End government a transversal GBV media campaign and break the cycle into hotspot areas like Eilich. So now my question to the Minister and the team, what was the reason that you changed the email address? Is it because of the low complaints, GBV complaints lodge, or I just want to understand, because I know in your reply to us in a written reply in February, you mentioned that you received 281 complaints as per the written reply. So I just want to understand, because it's very low, and if you are changing it again, what is the reasons behind?
Minister.
Okay, so if I may, when you read the document, you'll actually see that the numbers have gone up quite significantly. If we were targeting, I think it was 18,000 and odd, but it actually went up to 24,388. The challenge is many victims do not have access to data in terms of email. So the idea is to try and push a number like the gender-based command center, have an email, and I'm certain our comms people can talk to why we have a different email address. But the idea is that you should be able to access services without having to even use data to go into a point wherever it might be. Dr. McDonald, you might want to talk to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The contact details provided in the GBV campaign was for the Gender-Based Violence Command Center, which is a national central contact number for all provinces and national. So we provided that because it comes directly through to us from the command center when we get inquiries at the national level. So that provided the quickest route of entry for people. We don't want to create necessarily additional entry points and avoid confusion, but we do also have our call center as well. So it's an additional thing. It's not, we didn't close anything down or change any contact details. We just provide additional options for people. So there's the GBV command center, and then there's also the DSD provincial contact details. People can use either one of those.
Thank you, Honourable Fry.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to actually to Member Winvogel's question about GBV. With the minister, to the minister, I see that the minister is taking the lead on the GBV campaign as a transversal issue. My two questions are, how is it measured? That's question one. And question two is it working? Because you do state on page 69, I'm sorry, Chair, but this is a transversal question. So I am jumping because the minister quoted that 24,388 was actual, whereas 18,000, which is that in conjunction with the Department of Police Oversight and Community Safety? Are we measuring it in terms of cases brought, and people accessing psychosocial services? Because is it a fair reflection of what the bigger picture is, or are we just saying that this is only the people that have come and asked for help? What about do we know how many people are there that have not asked for help? Thank you.
Thank you to the Honourable Fry. Chairperson, GBV is underreported, in my opinion. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg. I'll give you an example. We opened an office in Delft, a GBV help desk. And when I spoke to the GBV social worker, she said to me, now that people know we have a help desk there, we're actually seeing an increase in the number of foot flow. But we do have our Chief Director, Liane Goosen, and she heads the Victim Empowerment Program and can actually talk to all of those figures. But my understanding is our planned target was 18,525 for psychosocial support, and we actually saw 24,388 people accessing that support. I think the more awareness we create, the greater the demand. And I somehow think that some of these targets have perverse incentives. We should be seeing a reduction and not an increase. It's like you say, we want to put X amount of children into a child and youth care center. It's like we should be moving X amount of children out of child and youth care centers. But unfortunately, this is the format, and that's what we have to work with. But I'm certain 24,000 is a drop in the ocean. It is not a reflection of what is happening out in society at this point in time.
Actually, you and the minister, may I ask Ms. Goosen to make some comments, please?
Sure. There's two aspects. The one is the GBV strategy, which is across all the provincial departments, and DSD coordinates that. So there's much more work being done in the GBV field by all departments. And for that, we have certain indicators which we are measuring. Those indicators are first to see how many people. We have a geo-mapping exercise where we see where people access services and how many are there. Our finding currently is that only 22.5% of people reporting domestic violence in the province at police stations do access services. And we are happy to say at least there was an increase of close to 6,000 over the past financial year, which I directly attributed to the fact that there has been a lot of awareness campaigns and so on in the province. Secondly, we also meet the amount of women that were out of employment that went into employment. We see that economic risk is one of the biggest challenges for women to report or to exit a domestic relationship that are violent. So that is one of the indicators that we meet, is how many women in the needs category access job opportunities. Then we also, allow me just to get to that. We also look at how many people take up the protection orders. And there's a specific development action currently where we look at alternative to strengthen the uptake of domestic orders, but we will also measure that throughout the years. So that's a one aspect, is the transversal. Then in terms of the departmental side is the safety component where we provide to GBV victims in terms of psychosocial services and also the uptake of shelter and so forth. So we have seen that with all the awareness campaigns, there's an increase in that type of services. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'm not going to ask much about GBV and things like that. I just want to thank the Minister and the HOD. I see in their forwards they paid much attention to GBV, children's issues, thanking NGOs there, all and that. So it's a combined kind of an effort and united front effort to deal with these pressing social issues. Honourable Baku?
Yeah, I hear you, but Minister, I just want to know, is there any specific reason that you didn't mention the work of the Commission? Just to find out if there is any reason, because let me not.
Is it the Children's Commissioner?
Yeah, the Children's Commission is not mentioned in and can you please give us the brief overview of her good work during the year under review? What were some of her achievements? I would like to know that. Can I repeat myself? I see that I just want to know if there is any specific reason that no mention is made of the work of Commission for Children in the MEC forward. Really, I'm interested. Can you please tell me?
Thank you. No problem, Honourable Baku. Honourable HOD, you may.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. The Children's Commissioner is under the Department of the Premier and services all departments in the province, including education, health, DST, etc. So I think, it would be in the annual report for the Premier that would be discussed. We wouldn't duplicate or encroach on their area of work. But I think in terms of our relationship with the Children's Commissioner, we have a very positive working relationship with the Children's Commissioner. We often meet with the Commissioner and also receive case referrals via the Commissioner's office. And we participated in a number of workshops that the Commissioner's held with children in different districts, where the Commissioners then produced reports that make recommendations and so on. And those things, I think, are then also presented in Parliament. So our interface with the Commissioner is reported on via the Commissioner, not vice versa. I think it would be a little bit odd if we started talking about the Commissioner, given its oversight structure. But yeah, thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, HOD. Honourable Minister.
Just to confirm what HOD MacDonald has said, we enjoy a very good relationship with the Children's Commissioner, and at the last Salga event, she actually handed us the books that the children had done in the various municipalities that could feed into the IDPs. So we got the posters, we got the books, but for me, I think we need to understand the Children Commissioner's mandate, and she's very clear at every platform. She makes no bones about the fact what her mandate is. But when there are issues that affect social development, she will very quickly get on the phone to Dr. MacDonald or I and anyone sitting on the side, and we will try our best to assist her as far as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Baku?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I do understand that she's under the Department of Premier, but she's working with children, and we are working very close with the children. And I saw her in many activities. I've been joining her when she invited me. So I feel that she was supposed to be mentioned by us also. Thank you, Chairperson.
Note that, Honourable Member. Let's then move. I was on page 8 and 9 with the ministers forward, and 10 and 11 with the HODs forward. Any remark, any question there, or can I now move? Page 12.
Chairperson.
Someone wanted to say something. Oh, Bosman, Honorable Bosman, you may.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just if I can, before we move from page 10, just looking at the foster care program as the HOD expands in his forward. From what I'm reading, there's been a year-on-year increase in the number of children placed in foster care in the province. And it looks like with the current challenges that we have with foster care in the country and the increase in this, and also some of the challenges that the department has outlined, not just around fiscal challenges, but also the challenges in recruiting suitable safety parents. Are the department perhaps able to elaborate a bit more on how they foresee the difficult period that is ahead of us and how that's going to impact the foster care system? And also if the department can share any initiatives or innovations that has perhaps allowed the Western Cape to better manage the foster care system. And also if the department could outline if there are still any challenges with relation to support from both national DSD and the Department of Justice, if there are any of those lingering challenges still hanging around. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chairperson, and thank you for the question, Honourable Member. I think firstly to say the budgetary situation that we're facing now is going to require us to reprioritize budgets to protect essential services like foster care, which is regrettable to be put in that situation because it means that there will be other services that will potentially have to be downscaled to enable us to free up the money to ensure that our foster care system is stabilized. The foster care system at the moment is quite unstable due to rapid closure of a number of NGOs that were rendering child protection services. We have been engaging the NGO sector and trying to support them as best we can to avoid further closures, as well as we've had to take over some caseloads from some NGOs that have closed, which puts a lot of strain on our staff and our local officers. Our staff's caseloads, as well as the caseloads of the staff and the NGOs, is increasing. As you will see in the figures in the report, the foster care numbers increased by about 10% in just within the space of a year. That means that the pressure is becoming quite severe for the staff. We're already overburdened before that even happened. I think the reality is, yeah, we're going to end up having to cut funds from other areas to be able to support and strengthen foster care, because otherwise we're going to fail in our constitutional and legislative responsibility. And then we will find ourselves on the wrong end of litigation. We already have the North Gauteng High Court ruling around the foster care backlogs, which is for the whole country and each province as well. And that remains a open case that we have to report on routinely. So we can't be regressing. I think the other issue is that in terms of what we've done to try and improve the efficiencies, we have been able to roll out the electronic foster care management system during the year under review, as well as the electronic child protection register. So those systems have come online, and we've loaded up all of the children that are in the province in alternative care are now being loaded up on the system. So we finally have a full electronic database of all the children in alternative care, which I think is a really good step forward. I think also that the national legislation has been changed, and this is where the national department comes in. The national legislation has been changed. The Children's Act and the Social Protection Act have been, or Social Assistance Act, have been changed to try and streamline the foster care system. And that was pursuant to the North Gauteng High Court ruling. The idea was essentially to try and reduce the number of children who have to be placed in foster care in order to access financial support. And that created the child support top-up grant system that you may have heard about that has now been running for over a year. Unfortunately, it seems that that system hasn't had any impact on the numbers. In fact, the intention was to reduce the numbers, but the effect seems to have increased the numbers. We don't exactly understand why or whether there's a relationship between the legislation and the numbers increasing, but so far the numbers of children in foster care have gone up sharply since that legislation was passed, and that means essentially that what it was intended to do, it hasn't. That is very concerning, because that was actually put forward as a very important step to try to reduce the foster care backlogs, and it hasn't. So yeah, National is looking at that, and we are giving them inputs from our side, and all the other provinces are as well. But there's going to have to be a rethink about this, because currently also we're going to have to look at shifting staff and resources to deal with the escalating demand for those services. So it's right at the top of the priority list for us as a key service delivery issue.
Thank you, Honourable HOD, for that extensive answer to the question. Bakufoss?
In light of the ongoing effects of COVID-19 pandemic, our government is allocated with $5 million. And however, there are many requirements to from the pandemic. And then that things pressing I would like to undertake that we should sustain of 25 million allocation exactly light of the battle rates and the rise of relationship. It's crucial to get an understanding of why this allocation was data address the growth crisis and rising cost of
HOD or Minister? No, I think that HOD take note of what you have said. You may answer.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, no, I did hear fine. Thank you, Chair and Honourable Member. You know, the allocation, the additional allocation for food relief was over and above funds that were already in the department's budget. So that was an additional amount that Provincial Treasury gave us. Having said that, social development's role in food relief is quite a specific role, in the sense that the main social relief and social support system is driven by SASSA. They got much bigger budgets, in the billions, for supporting people. And obviously the COVID relief grant is continuing, so that is assisting along with all the other grants. But in addition to that, there is also the school feeding schemes and the food provided in ECDs and all of the other NGOs that are supported in this province. So social development's allocation for food relief is really to focus on the gaps where people are not being assisted or are falling through the gaps in the safety nets that already exist. So we particularly look at people who are having difficulty accessing existing mechanisms. They're not able to get to places where they can access normal sources of food relief, particularly in rural areas, and people who are struggling with mobility and so on. So it's really about filling in the gaps. But at the same time, I think we are also part of the Transversal Food Security Group. DST is one of the role players. Agriculture leads that, and they've also been driving food gardens and other mechanisms to help with sustainable support communities with food security, because obviously the government has a limit on its resources and the ability of these resources to continue to support people. And the intention is to try help people to become more self-sufficient and resilient as well. But I wouldn't say that we have enough to reach everyone who needs it. What I can say is that the statistics on malnutrition that are presenting at clinics are still relatively low. So we've been able to avoid some of the worst case situations that could occur with mass malnutrition, but there is a baseline that is continuing. And we are seeing also concerning signs of obesity as well among children and young adults. That is actually a different form of malnutrition, but it's due to eating the wrong things as opposed to not eating enough things. So I think the question of malnutrition is quite a complex issue, and it's about availability of the right kind of nutrition. And so I think the COVID period was very much about just getting calories out to people to keep them alive and help them survive the worst of the disaster. But the longer term picture also needs to look at nutrition. So I think DSD would like to continue our role, and we have put that forward to Treasury. But with the budget cuts that are coming, I'm not sure we'll be able to sustain this, to be quite honest. I think in the budget period, we will see what the picture looks like, because this year we've still continued with some additional funds from Treasury, but next year the outlook is very uncertain, unfortunately. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Winfrey, I have seen your hand, I think. Yeah, you may.
Thank you, Chair. Mine was actually on the issue of foster care. I think we had previously as standing committee meetings, and we discussed the issue of foster care, the backlog, in terms of the backlog. And what was explained by the HOD, I do understand. But perhaps I'm a bit deaf. Perhaps I missed that part in his explanation. I want to understand from the department side, what have you done? Or was there any engagement with different role players of, let's say, the Department of Justice, if it comes to the backlog in foster care? I really want to understand what you have done as a department. Thanks, Chair.
Chairperson, yes, we have engaged with the Department of Justice and the magistrates around backlog issues. There are some courts where they were having difficulty as well from the court side with having enough court dates for the foster care extensions. And so there were sometimes delays on the court side. When we report to National Social Development, one of the things that's now been included in agreement with Justice nationally is that we also indicate where there are delays at court level per court in each district. If there is a delay, then we flag it nationally. But by and large, the DST regions and the magistrates have been working together to try and address this. So that's the one issue. But the backlog itself, a lot of the backlog is being generated by a combination of overload on staff as well as vacancies, particularly in the NGO sector. So a lot of the backlogs are sitting with the NGOs that we fund at the moment, because they are sitting with a whole lot of vacancies that they are struggling to fill, and they are not able to cope with the case. And in some instances, social development has had to take over those cases to help them to clear the backlog. So our staff have been doing some additional work over and above what the NGOs, or over and above their own caseloads. They've been helping the NGO caseloads as well to try and clear the backlog. But the reality is that the workload versus the capacity is just at the moment too much. And we've been assigning more capacity. We've been engaging the NGOs and assisting them. We've also been expanding the number of posts we fund in the NGOs, the number of supervision posts as well as social worker posts. to handle the foster care cases. And we've also been project managing the throughput of the foster care cases to try and minimize the backlogs. But I think the COVID situation set us back as well, because it closed the courts for a period, and then there was a backlog from that as well. And then, since COVID, for whatever reason, we've seen quite a lot of exits from NGOs as well as from social development, social workers leaving the profession. So this is an ongoing challenge for us. We're constantly sitting with vacancies, and particularly the NGOs don't pay as much as government, and they struggle to retain their social workers. So one of the things I've asked my team to do is to sit with the NGOs and look at which areas they are struggling to retain staff, and see where social development can maybe take over that area, and then the NGO can take over, swap places in areas of where DSD is, or rather where they can fill posts easier, so that we swap a few areas, because in the rural areas particularly, the NGOs battle to retain social workers. They don't pay enough to keep them in the small towns. So we're busy with that project now, and it's part of our planning for next year as well, in terms of increasing the resources to try and clear this. But the backlog is relatively low in the province, but we shouldn't have one at all at this point. So it's still a concern.
Thank you. Honourable Barker.
Thank you, Chairperson. HOD, I would like to bring into your attention the unresolved case of Mia Botha.
Let me hear that again. I didn't pick up on that, please.
I would like to bring to your attention, HOD, the unresolved case of Mia Botha, a 5-year-old who tragically fell victim for rape and murder in September 2022. Furthermore, in April of this year, 2 innocent 7-year-old girls were raped, yet they have not received the essential psychiatric service they urgently require due to critical staff shortages. And I would like to know, what role does the department play, and how can the department assist the two girls as well as help solve the case of Mia? Additionally, HOD, could you elaborate on how the safety plan in addressing gender-based violence and femicide in the province, particularly in non-metropolitan areas? Lastly, in light of our question to the MEC in July 2022, it was suggested that the transversal sexual harassment policy would encompass all forms of harassment and GBV, including sexual harassment. Has the revision of this policy been completed and put into effect? And how will it contribute to the resolution of the aforementioned cases? Thank you, Chairperson. I want to ask the last question. I'll be slow. I'm not feeling well today. I have a huge headache. Can I ask my last question, Chairperson?
You may.
On page 11, paragraph 2. In the last sentence, I would like to understand what were the resolution of the Western Cape GBV Summit. Have they been implemented? How is the department responding to the issue of funding and resources constraints raised by delegates?
Is that it? Are you done, Honourable Member?
I'm not done.
You're not done yet.
No, this is the last question. This is in page 11, paragraph 5. Given issues such as drugs addiction, youth involvement in gangs and criminal activities, are the department's strategies truly effective? What collaborative initiatives have been undertaken with other government departments to tackle these problems? With a need rate among youth in mind, how does the provincial government plan to significantly boost its investment in youth? Given the 11,000 is a drop in the ocean of the total of youth in need of these interventions. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Look, before the HOD or the Minister answer, don't you think you must step out to your office and take some medication?
Yeah,
and
I
come
think
back later
let
on?
me ask this one and then I can go to the office for a few minutes. HOD, the case of Miss Cynthia Bless, who lives in the abandoned building in Ceres, was brought to the MEC and yourself. And really, we started to speak about this in 2021, if you can remember. And we have reminded you about it every year. Ever since, can you give us an account of all steps taken to try and assist her and the disabled son ever since the matter was raised with you? Why is she still living in such condition with her disabled son? I won't be long, but I just want to bring into your attention that we visited as the cluster or the committee. That house is bad, very bad, and it's sad to see a disabled person living in situation like that. Thank you, Chairperson. Let me.
Thank you, Honourable Member, and all of the best with your health. HOD and Minister, you can answer, please.
Okay. Thank you, Honourable Chair. So the question about what role social development plays in terms of cases of children or adults who are the victims of GBV or sexual assault, rape. Social development provides psychosocial support services. We are part of the Tutuzela care centres that provide the intake of victims of sexual assault and rapes. And we have counsellors there who assist with that aspect. The medical assistance is provided by health, and the National Prosecuting Authority provides the assistance with the criminal case opening and preparation. But I will ask Ms. Corson to speak a little bit more about the role social development plays for victims, as well as what role we play in the safety plan in terms of GBV in the province. And then the question about what resolutions or main resolutions came from the GBV summit, if you can assist with those questions, Ms. Corson.
Thank you, actually. In terms of what role DSD play with this, with victims of violence, the HOD alluded to the role and function of the TCC centres. Then we also provide support from our local offices. We have GBV social workers deployed throughout the province. We have also contracted various NPO providers that assist for us either with shelters or with court services where victims access the court in terms of criminal cases as well as for protection orders. We also then have the support in terms of children that have access to alternative care who cannot stay with their families. So it depends on the specific situation of that person, how we assist. In terms of the GBV summit, we have taken the resolutions to the national summit, where we lobbied for further assistance in terms of funding and so forth. What I can say is that all the resolutions that's relevant to the province have been taken up in the revised GBV strategy in the province that affects all the departments. So we have taken that which is relevant to the department up in that. But we also had the stakeholders of justice, SAPS, at the summit, and they have taken forward their different areas of responsibility. We also report quarterly on the outcomes of the strategy to the safety as well as the well-being sectors. Then in terms of our role, in terms of the safety, as I alluded before, we are tracking the protection orders, which is currently in process. There's hiccups at courts in the processing of protection orders after it has not been honored by the perpetrator. And we are currently in a PDI process. We follow that and track that and also see how we can enhance services across all departments, including national departments, to those victims. Then, of course, we also do the tracking of victims across the province that take up services, where they are, especially in terms of our hotspots, and how we can then fill the gaps. In terms of, then we also have a focus project in Delft, where we do specific tracking of victims in Delft, but also brought together both the community safety as well as the local forums. GBV ambassadors was launched in Delft and so on. And then in terms of funding, the GBV program was one of the only programs that didn't experience any budget cuts. So that in itself is an achievement. And then there was also a 5 million increase in funding for GBV services in the department. So I hope that is.
Thanks very much, Ms. Gerson. Yeah, so there was some additional resources to address some of the concerns raised, but that summit was intended to feed into the national summit, and it was also used to help us update the implementation plan for the province based on the inputs received. The question regarding what extent we reach youth involved in crime and youth at risk. I think I would agree that we are not reaching the number of people we need to be reaching. And in fact, we are at this point sitting with a complete overload in our child and youth care, secure care facilities for children who are exhibiting risky behavior and children who are in conflict with the law. There's a huge demand for these services. We are in the process of expanding the space. The infrastructure works are underway with the assistance of the Department of Infrastructure, but those projects take time. And in the meantime, we are under huge pressure as a department to be able to accommodate all of the young people that are being referred to us by the courts. It's extremely difficult, and the staff are under massive pressure. We've got to avoid overcrowding. We don't want to end up like Paulsmoor, the human rights situation where there's massive overcrowding and then it becomes a violation of the human rights of the residents. So it's a bit of a dilemma for us, because at the same time, these children are at huge risk when they're out on the streets as well. But yeah, it's...
Remember, Barkhoff made reference to the 11 million rand budget, that it might not be sufficient, or...
I think that may be in relation to youth development. Now, youth development programs or the youth program office is a different matter, but that is only one aspect of what we do for youth. So much bigger budget allocation goes into youth at risk, which the question referred to. So I think the youth development program speaks to the youth cafes and the other youth programs that we do, which are, in a sense, they are more preventative, if you like. They are designed to help develop youth and support youth. And of course, that needs to be seen alongside everything education is doing, everything that the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport is doing, as well as all of the activities the municipalities do. So there's a lot of youth development work going on in the province. We are one player and we work with the other departments on that. But where it comes to the main resources in DST for youth of targeting youth at risk. And so also substance abuse programs targeting youth, as well as the probation and diversion services for youth. So there's a lot more than the 11 million. It's more like hundreds of million if you add it all up. But even so, it's not enough. Definitely not. We know that. And we've made the case that there's only so much money to go around, unfortunately. In terms of the question regarding Ms. Cynthia Bless, I can provide the following feedback. The most recent report I have is that there's been a number of home visits to the home. And the home of the maternal aunt of Miss Bless, but they're still struggling with their accommodation, and apparently they've applied for a home as early as 1991, but in 2005 they were followed up and they still were further down the housing waiting list. So they've been struggling with that. They've met with the municipal manager in the area, Mr. Nasson, and engaging with the municipality in terms of trying to obtain improved housing. They are, I think, they're currently living in their sister's house in Ceres. And that the children are currently well cared for. There's no risk to the children that requires social development to intervene in that respect. So the primary issue for them is the accommodation, which unfortunately social development is not able to assist directly with that, although we have been monitoring the family to just check on their well-being, but the municipality is trying to assist with the accommodation aspect. So unfortunately, it's beyond our means, but we obviously would support any effort from the municipality to provide better accommodation.
Thank you, HOD. Honourable Van Vogel.
Thank you, Chairperson. I struggle to understand how we are working. It's like we are in a box. We can see things are wrong outside, but we are only looking at. I want us to think out of the box. It's a government. I understand as your sister's departments, you normally have a platform where you meet minister. I'm speaking now to our minister. So when you engage your sister's departments, are you not referring to this issue of I'm just making an example. Maybe there's a lot of other issues from other departments where they can engage you of other issues regarding social issues, and then they can engage you. I'm speaking about the other ministers. So I want to understand, when you meet at that level, are you not engaging each other on issues related to their or portfolios or their departments? Because we are nearly at the end of the term. This thing started with the beginning of our term. So it's unacceptable, really. That's my input. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Minister, you want to comment on that? Or?
Thank you, Chair. There are platforms where we work transversely. One of those is the Wellbeing Work Stream, which is the Department of Health and Wellness, Education, sports, arts and culture, agriculture and social development. And then, of course, we also have what is called min-may meetings, where the Premier convenes with all the mayors and the MMs. But in social development, we also have MOUs with municipalities where we can raise issues. So I think there's a question here. Does the family want to be separated or not? So as much as we would want to assist the disabled person, the family does not, if the family does not want to be split up and they wish to stay together, then it is out of our control because we can't remove people against their will. So I think that is something to be considered. We had a situation now during the floods where an 86-year-old gentleman was in a home, his home, which was flooded, and we offered to take him out, and he insisted that that is where he is going to stay. So it makes it really difficult because unless you understand what is really happening in that family dynamic and everything else, our hands are really tied. It does become difficult. But we have certainly, every time Honourable Bakabaka has raised it, the department has followed up. You know, it's not like we've neglected to follow up. We certainly have followed up on every occasion.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I'm on page 10, 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15. Honourable Fry.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to talk about the question about the compensation of employees across the programs, staff exits, and so on. Just wanted to know, I probably have missed it, but there will be a breakdown of the staff exits via retirement, moving on, designations, and so on and so forth. Can we get the breakdown by region? Because I just want to see how, I want to know how staff exits in the outlying areas, not necessarily in the metro, but in the outlying areas as to how that affects service delivery in places like Calitzdorp and Ladysmith and Beaufort West, who really have constrained service delivery problems. So if you can get a breakdown by region and see exactly if you can zone in on that. And then again, my questions are on page 14, but they are overall. The budget. I know we've spoken about budget and foster care and all that kind of stuff, but we are facing a fiscal, going over the fiscal cliff in the face. What have we begun to look at how to prioritize? I know GBV is prioritized and it's getting funding, but have you looked at how we're going to accommodate, how we're going to, where the compromise is going to be made in the budget for service delivery across the board, you know, the children at risk, older persons. Have we looked at, you know, where can we cut right to the bone, because that's what's going to happen. And has the budget been are we beginning the project, the process of reprioritizing the budget? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Fry. I think you have the question. Could you respond to that?
Thank you, Chair. A regional breakdown of staff exits, we could probably provide. I think I'd have to ask my team to just prepare that document for the committee, because that will take a little bit of time to do. The the question of how it impacts the outlying areas, we have, I mean, it's impacting everywhere. So I wouldn't say it's skewed specifically towards any particular area. We've got challenges in the garden route at the moment with staff shortages, as well as in a number of places in Cape Town as well. So it's everywhere. We struggle, but some places are worse than others. And also where we find ourselves in particular strain is where we've got rapidly growing informal settlements in certain areas where the caseloads just go up. And so we had an office that was built and the number of staff was created with a community that was there at the time back in 2010. Yes. And since then there's been new informal settlements and suddenly the workload has doubled, but the staff component hasn't doubled. And that's where we've had to bring in social work graduates to try and help, or we've tried to broker deals with NGOs to take over some of that space, so that we can balance the workload a little bit. So in Calitzdorp, which was mentioned specifically, we're also struggling with things like office space, and we also lost an NGO there that used to operate there, which was RCFF. They closed down, so we've had to take over that as well, which has also put strain. So yeah, we've got a lot of different types of challenges in each area, is a bit unique. The question about prioritizing or reprioritization in light of the budget cuts that I mentioned a bit earlier as well, we are going to have to reprioritize funds towards services that are essential services like child protection. We have started that exercise. We don't have firm figures for next year yet. So we've been given some estimates of approximately 10% budget cut next year, and similar amounts in the outer years, as a kind of working document that we have to look at. And we've looked at the implications of that. Among other things, it would require a post freeze in terms of appointments. It would also require cutting funds to NGOs in certain sectors, particularly for services that we're not mandated to, or should I say compelled to render. So we would have to probably reduce funds to preventative services in various sectors, because those services we're not legally obliged to render. So in the short term, that would enable us to save the remaining funds for the services that we have to render. But the long-term impact of that isn't very negative, both for the NGOs, because some of them will close because the funding cuts would be the last straw for them. And we'll lose that social capital, but also because the preventative measures help reduce the number of vulnerable persons coming into the more expensive legal interventions. So it's a losing situation for everyone concerned, unfortunately. But I think we will have more clarity on the budget outlook towards the adjustment period later this year. So it's a very difficult space we're working in at the moment, because we've been told of budget cuts, but we don't really know what we're actually facing. It's same, all departments are in the same boat. Yeah. So thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We experienced a technical glitch, but I just need to check. Honourable Bosman, you can hear me? You can hear us clearly? Do you have any question, any remark from your side? You may go.
Yes, Chairperson. I've not experienced any technical glitches. I heard all the questions and answers. Chair, my question is on page 14, program 2. Very impressive spend on that program. But I just want to ask, the 1.2 million that was not spent on transfers and subsidies due to the delay in operationalizing these specialized vehicles for disabilities. Can I ask if this is still the same specialized vehicles that we've been talking about since 2020, or is it a different issue altogether? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable HOD or Minister or CFO.
Thanks, Chairperson. It's another set, because each year we've been getting vehicles and delivering them, so it's not the same ones. But those vehicles were so we handed over a batch and then we started with some new ones. I don't know if you want to add one.
Thank you, HOD. Through you, Chair. Yeah, I think we must also understand that there's operational costs as well as the capital costs around this. So when we have a delay in finishing the product, the vehicle, then we underspend on the operational costs because we can only give operational costs once the vehicle is there with the engine. So it's those type of delays that sometimes cause that we can't give them operational costs until we have delivered the vehicle as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Let's then move page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Honorable Windvogel, please.
Thank you, Chair. My question is on page 20. I just want to check with the department how much was spent from the department's own funds for the GBV campaigns, or does it only rely on donations? The point of reference was the radio airtime towards the Western Cape Government GBV campaign. And then lastly, Chair, the Minister, sorry for taking you back to the issue of Bless. It's not the situation with Bless, as long as they get a proper place to stay. So I just want to inform you, it's not the case with the Bless family.
Okay, got that. On page 20, Minister.
So, no, Chair, I just want to say that when it comes to housing, obviously local government would need to provide the housing. So as much as we want to assist the Bless family, if a house is what they need and not a facility, then it is all we can do is encourage the municipality to fast track a home for them. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. HOD, on the other question with regard to the radio program.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. I wonder whether Ms. Lewis would like to just speak to the question of the funds for the GBV campaign.
The GBV campaign that the department did last year, I'm just looking for the actual amount. But there was a budget allocated that was listed in our comms plan. I can confirm the amount a bit later. So how that donation happened was we done the campaign because it was in 16 days of activism. A lot of the media owners, also as part of the social responsibility, they then came on board to just boost the existing campaigns that we did. Thanks.
Thank you for that. You want to?
So, Chair, yeah, but the donation log there is that we got some free airtime as well. But there was also some funds from the department side that were allocated, as Ms. Lewis has indicated. For
thank you. And Ms. Lewis said she will provide information later. So we note that. Okay, let's then continue. Let's move. Page 21, page 22, page 23, page 24, page 25, page 26, page 27, 28, page 29, page 30, page 31, page 32. Honorable Windvogel.
Chair, my question is on page 32, the National Strategy Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. Chair, in light of the aims of the GBV strategy plan, I am forced to remind the MEC about the replies he gave on the 8th of July 2022 on the updates on the revision of sexual harassment policy and the need for uniform GBV policy in the province. You mentioned that the department does not intend to develop a separate GBV policy, and the GBV will be addressed under the new harassment policy and the wider regulatory framework. So can you elaborate on how GBV is specifically addressed in the province, in particular in the harassment policy and the existing regulatory framework? And is there any unique consideration or provision for GBV? And how will it ensure comprehensive protection and support for victims of GBV? Then lastly, Chair, why is the MEC, through you, Chair, MEC, why are you refusing to develop a GBV policy which would have similar aims addressed in the National Strategy Plan? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Minister.
Chairperson, I think maybe the best person would be to ask Ms. Liana Goosen, but our GBV implementation plan came from the National Strategic Plan. So it is about alignment with national, but Ms. Goosen, maybe you could elaborate since you are the custodian of the project. Thank you.
If I can first respond to the harassment policy. It was first a sexual harassment policy, and then it was broadened to the harassment policy. It's relevant to employees within the government sector. It has been implemented and rolled out across the province already. That currently is broadening the protection of employees beyond just sexual harassment. It can be bullying in the workplace and so on. And .P is collating that information for the province, and the rollout of that harassment policy was also done by the Premier's office. DSD have responded to that in our own sphere by promoting that policy. During the monthly engagements of the minister, we have highlighted this policy to all the different GBV ambassadors. From the office of the HOD, they have also rolled out that policy, and we have also appointed sexual harassment officers across our employment structures. In terms of the GBV strategy, and I think we've presented it to Standing Committee previously and also in a parliamentary question, focuses on 6 pillars, which involves first accountability within the leadership. And I think our MEC has taken a lead in that. And also GBV is taken up as well as in the safety, as well as in the well-being Mancos as a focus area. And then all departments within the Western Cape have been tasked across the 6 pillars that are implemented in various responsibilities. So we report quarterly on that, on the various departments' input related to that. DSD themselves report to pillar 2 and 3 mostly, which is then the psychosocial support and the services to victims directly. But there's also, for instance, in docs, there's a focus on substance abuse legislation. That's a contributing factor. Pillar 5 look at the economic impact and what is done in terms of the growth for jobs pillar and so forth. So, and what pillar 6 is focusing on research and campaigns and so on. So we have also adopted the review of the strategy in I think it's April, March, HOD. April, May in the wellbeings where we've updated after the first 2 years, we've now refreshed it and also incorporated the updated recommendations from the national strategy after our summit. So it's a regular thing. We are meeting quarterly also with all the departments to give feedbacks on their progress. So there's a lot of not only pressure, but the responsibility on all provincial departments to come to the party.
From my side, Look, a lot of being said about GBV this morning. It's a pressing issue. It's good for us focusing on that, but this dramatic increase, did COVID had some kind of a role to play in that? Was the social issues facing after COVID, people losing their jobs and that sort of thing? That's the one issue. And if you're looking at page 33, the very last paragraph, High Court of South Africa, the last sentence, legislation can make provision for the closure of illegally centers and that sort of thing. But how far are we with that legislation? Is it national or is it provincial? Thank you.
Judy, if I may. We have currently the legislation do not support the closure of illegal substance treatment centers. There's an amendment act that is currently being discussed at national government to incorporate that, and it's imminent that it would be promulgated. So we hope for that. In the meantime, we have taken two unregistered centers to court to see if we can create a precedent in law to respond to that, and we had successful outcomes in that. But it's an incremental process because we have to follow a developmental process. First, give centers the opportunity to become compliant, and after that has been unsuccessful, we move forward.
Thank you. HOD, I see you want to respond as well.
Thanks, Chair. The other question about the impact of COVID on societal issues. I think we've seen a sharp increase in the number of children, vulnerable children, since COVID. The GBV figures are more difficult to tell because the underreporting is such a factor. Just getting reliable data on the GBV rates is still something that we have a long way to go with. But certainly the GBV figures have sharply increased since COVID ended because the reporting went up. So it's a little hard to tell. But in terms of children coming to our system, we've definitely had higher numbers, both children who go into foster care as well as children who need to be placed in secure care for criminal activity.
Thank you. Members, Bosman and Van Vogel in the house, I just want to check from you guys. I think it's time for a quick tea break, just to energize our systems again. Let's do that. Let's give it 20 minutes. Minister, are you okay with that? Thank you. Let's not ready. Don't you want to check quickly? Okay, let's continue until the lady just double check for us. Maybe I'm a bit too hasta la vista. Yeah. Okay, but we can finish part A in the meantime. We are nearly done with part A. That was page 33 and then page 34 at the back. Part B, deal with performance information to a large extent. Honourable Van Vogel, you wanted to say something? I hear a whispering. Your hand was up. Okay, you may go.
On the organizational structure, in respect of the two acting officials, how did the vacancy occur, and what progress has been made to fill them, and are there plans in the place to recruit more Africans into senior top management in the department?
Yeah. HOD.
Thanks, Chairperson. Just checking the vacancies referred to are. Which one? Okay, yes, there's the vacancy of the regional director that is in the recruitment and selection process currently. And then the children and families post became vacant, and that was, I think actually at the time the person was ill and then there was someone acting in their place. So the post only actually became vacant this year. And that is now in the recruitment and selection process. So that post wasn't actually vacant, but the person was on ill health. So the vacancy actually only occurred this year. So yeah, those are the two posts. And then the question about the employment equity, yes, the department does have a fully developed employment equity plan that it's in the process of implementing.
Thank you for that. That is then part A. I made reference to part B. I think let's continue until wonderful. Okay. Performance information. Members, I'm on page 35. Then Vogel, your hand. Is it your hand?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, page 35, the second last paragraph, the last sentence. I just want to check what is the number of children at CICCs and how does this number compare to the previous financial year? And then in a reply to one of our questions in June 2023, the MEC indicated that 11 CICC were reduced due to less children being accommodated on request by CYCC, or change in program. What is causing this decreased demand in CYCC services, and what is the impact of the reduced number of CYCC? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll ask Ms. Goosen to speak to that. Thank you.
If I start at the last question and then moving back, it reflects that there's been a reduction, but what it means is that children stay longer in the CYCCs. So it places limitations on our intake. We actually see an increase in demand because children can't be reunified so quickly, and therefore the turnover in our CYCCs is limited. So it's actually creating a conundrum for us because our waiting lists are in excess of 400 to 500 in our NPO CYC6, and our own centers it's over 600. So that is only what we could take up in our centers, but the movement of children out of the system are very limited because of our parents not being able to take care of them. That then also answers your question about the numbers, because you will see that the current numbers in NPO CYC6, it's 2,578, and in our own centers it's about 700, which is more than children in conflict in the law, focusing on that.
Thank you very much. HOD?
Just to update the question regarding the cost or expenditure on the GBV campaign, I've just received the figure for the year. It was 444,155 Rand. That was the DST budget allocated for the GBV campaign as per the member's prior question, which we couldn't answer earlier.
Thank you very much. I'm on page 36. A lot about the youth and youth involvement in criminalities and things like that, but I'm not sure if any of the members want to ask a question with regard to that. A lot said about it. I'm not going to label that issue, but I just want to make the remark. We pick up in the document the department focus on those issues. The redressed interventions in support of persons with disabilities we note as well, and we made reference to that already. I don't want to give an indication that we just let go of the issues in the report. That is why I make the point Then on page 37, again, a bit on domestic violence and sexual offences, and we've said a lot about that as well. It will stay pressing issues for the department, also for the Department of Community Safety. Page 38, before we, yeah, I see your hand.
Ja, ons is nou lus vir 'n bietjie koffie, Chair. I see you are running.
Ek stem
Yeah,
saam.
yeah, page 37, Chair, paragraph 3, second sentence. When we posed a question to the MEC earlier in the year about the implementation of the drug master plan, we learned that 30 municipalities did not have local action drug committees. I want to ask for an update. Is there any work? Is there any work that the department did to support such municipalities to establish these important committees? If I can just get the update on that. On your mic's on. Someone's mic's on there. About 2 weeks ago, I attended the Western Cape Substance Abuse Forum, and we were privileged to have the chairperson of the Central Drug Authority, as well as Dr. Guru present. I can confirm that we have 18 local drug action committees, and that within the city of Cape Town, I think all 21 sub-councils have been given the green light. We have challenges in certain municipalities, especially where there is political instability or budgetary constraints, where the municipality will say, but we can't afford to have this, not unless you fund us. I was hoping that we would finish this term with at least 24 out of 30, but we have been very instrumental in providing councils with the necessary context, background, and then take it to the next level where there's a stakeholder engagement. So we are still pushing to try and see how many we can get on board before the end. The political instability is a big challenge because councils can't agree on what it is they want to do, what it is they don't want to do, or what it is they don't even want to commit to. And whilst we tell them local drug action committees are contained in the legislation, it is not deemed important in certain municipalities. We cannot, unfortunately, force a municipality to establish a local drug action committee. But it will certainly benefit that municipality and all the citizens in that area if they had it established, yes. But I can say from a provincial perspective, we are leading. The chairperson of the Central Drug Authority actually said that interesting to see how in the Western Cape we work so well together, because we've had Professor Gibson Sabeko from UCT and a lot of other key stakeholders in the room at the same time to ensure that we drive a transversal approach to local drug action committees. And it's not just a DSD initiated event, because you do need to get stakeholders on board to be able to make it work. Yes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. On that beautiful note, a break. We're all back 10:10. Thank you. I say good morning once again. Let's get started. I just want to make a brief comment. Minister and HOD alluded to one or two staff members that is at home as a result of one or another illness. Barkefors had to be taken to hospital by an ambulance. So at our age, we must look after our health. Health is, at our age, is a priority, but I just think for your interest, you would love to know what's going on, what's happening, and that sort of thing. Yeah, so that is the situation there. Member Bosman online, thank you, Member Bosman. We are done with our tea session, thanks for that, and let's move. I'm on page 38. We need to deal with page 38 to page 89. That is part B, performance information. Page 39, Member Van Vogel, please.
Chair, from page 38, I just need to
Yes.
go to the, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Chair, mine is then on page 38, paragraph 4. Chair, it is a matter for serious concern that in addition to the challenge of unemployment, social work graduates in the department did not fill serious number of vacancies for social workers. Can we get a reason for such vacancies, and are there social workers vacancies that are not filled during the current 2023-24 financial year? Then secondly, in a number of committee meetings, we have insisted that DSD and WCED must engage and agree on a joint project to see unemployed social work graduates needs to be placed in schools to assist with the psycho-social support services. Can I ask for any update in this regard? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member. Honourable Fry as well.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Chair. Same page, paragraph 1 to 3. The safety and well-being of staff is imperative. Can we just get some more information on the well-being of staff and what are you doing? Is there increased wellness program? Are the staff accessing the wellness program? You know, the vacancy rate, I forget the page, but in some vacancy rates up to 22%. One aspect of it, I'll find the page. But what are we doing? I know safety is a major issue in the metro, with service delivery being hampered by extortion and gangsterism and shooting on paramedics and stuff. So what is the, you know, can we get some more detail on the safety and well-being of staff? Thank you.
You. HOD.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. In terms of the social worker vacancies, at any given time, there's always vacancies because staff leave and then we have to recruit and select more. So what happens is that people can leave with 1 month's notice, but it usually takes anywhere between 4 to 6 months to fill the post. So at any time, you're always going to have that. Unfortunately, it's the nature of recruitment selection processes in the public sector mean that there's always going to be a gap between people leaving and the post being filled. So that is the one aspect that we always struggle with, particularly given the high numbers of staff we have. It creates a constant turnover. I think also to add that we have brought in social worker graduates. I think in the year under review there was over 100 in the department. I'm not sure the exact figures now, but it's still maybe Ms. Patel can assist with that. But the social work graduates are being appointed in social development to help us with additional capacity because of the strain on our existing establishment. In terms of the education department appointing social workers, they don't have many social workers in their departments or posts for that. So they the question would have to be directed to their department in terms of where they're at with that. But they are, I think they have around 50 social workers only, so they don't have much scope to take on board social work graduates. They don't have people to supervise them like we do, so it's a little bit difficult for them. But I think the other area where social workers also pointed is health as well. In hospitals, they do have social workers working there as well. And then in the NGO sector, where we've also been encouraging the NGOs and assisting them in some instances with contacts for social worker graduates to get the NGOs to appoint them, because that's actually a very good opportunity for newly graduated social workers. But I think the overall picture is that when we go out to recruit social work graduates, we do often find many of them have already been appointed in posts in the NGOs. So the system is working well in that respect. The intention of the project nationally was actually for those social workers to be absorbed into government, but the reality is that it makes more sense that they start in the NGO sector, because government ends up recruiting the more experienced social workers from the NGOs because we pay higher. So it makes more sense from a career progression perspective that the graduates go into the NGO sector first before coming to government. It does also mean that they get some exposure and experience and so on. But I think the number of social work graduates that are not replaced is declining rapidly now, because they've stopped the bursary program nationally because they had an oversupply of graduates. In terms of the question from Honourable Member Fry about the well-being of staff, the department does have a service provider for employee wellness that is a contracted service provider from the Corporate Services Centre for all departments that are supported by Corporate Services, which is in the Department of the Premier. That service provider does provide employee wellness days where staff are offered assistance with medical testing and other kinds of benefits. Staff are also offered therapeutic support when they've experienced trauma. That's part of the contract, and staff are also assisted with ongoing counselling if required. We do receive reports from the service provider on the kind of issues that are coming up with staff, and we monitor that. A lot of the issues that staff are experiencing that are affecting their well-being are to do with safety, as mentioned, but also family issues are right at the top, and then also sometimes interpersonal relationships in the workplace feature as an issue as well. And there we then arrange for management interventions with the support of the employee wellness service providers where needed to assist with the interpersonal dynamics in the units that where this is being flagged. So various causes of staff having a need for assistance, and we try and assist in the appropriate way where that is required. But a lot of staff have taken up the offer of support. The employee wellness service provider is being very well utilized by social development staff. The safety issues, though, are becoming increasingly serious. Particularly this year, we've seen a big spike in safety incidents in Khayelitsha and Gugulethu in particular, as well as in Philippi East. We've had issues there. There's a lot of hijackings of government vehicles have started for some reason. Previously, we didn't have a problem with that, but it does seem now that the syndicates are beginning to target government vehicles, which is a new thing for us, because previously the tracker and the branding deterred people from hijacking, but now it seems they've got a method of dealing with that. And so we are having to make an arrangement with our staff that there are certain red zones that they don't go into without a police escort. It's the same arrangement that the Department of Health has made for their paramedics in terms of going into certain areas with ambulances with police support. So we've indicated to our social workers as well that when there are red zones, they should not go in there without SAP support or with support from the LEAP officers. The area-based teams that have been established under the safety plan have also proved to be a good resource, not only because the social workers can support the work of the area-based teams, but the area-based teams also provide improved support to the social workers in terms of giving them information on where the dangerous areas are in a real-time basis, and also building relationships between the social workers and the law enforcement.
Thank you, HOD. Let me move on. Page 39, page 40, page 41. Page 42, page 43, page 44, page 45, page 46, page 47, page 48, page 49. I think what you pick up, why not so many, might be not so many questions. We did make reference to most of the issues already. So it's, if we ask any other further question, it's just a repeat. I just need to note that. Because on page 48, what you see there, persons with disabilities, social relief, older persons, we talk about it already. Okay. Page 49, page 50, page 51, page 52. Honorable Windvogel.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is on page 50. Sub-program 2. Service to the persons with disability. I just want to check with the department, why were the targets not achieved?
That's the question.
Thank you, Chairperson. The transfer budget cuts resulted in reduced outputs. Unfortunately, budget cuts meant we couldn't deliver as much as we wanted to during the year. Yeah, it's a similar pattern with the older persons programs as well. There was also cuts to those programs as well. So the organizations weren't able to reach as many people as they wanted to.
Thank you. Page 53, page 54. Honorable Bosman.
Before we go to page 53, if I could just, on page 52.
Yes.
The sub-program 2.5 social relief, sort of there was a massive overperformance by the department and a massive increase in the number of people who experienced undue hardship. And I'm just noting the fact that the department performed very well in this indicator, but I think we should also just be mindful of the fact that the provisioning of food parcels and relief of distress is the mandate of SASSA. So I'd like to ask how many households that the department engaged with were referred to SASSA, and is there a mechanism with which the department is able to monitor whether SASSA is assisting beneficiaries? And noting that the department is under severe financial strain, how does the department plan to continue this trend? Because I'm just looking at the actual achievement, and it's an overachievement of more than 1,800. So my suspicion is that that will increase in the next financial year. So within the current budgetary constraints, does the department see itself being able to meet that target again? And then also if the department could just comment on sort of whether SASA is also filling that gap, or is this increase due to the continued failure of SASA? Thanks very much.
Before you answer, Honourable Minister and all HOD, Christopher Frey, Member Frey, you may ask your question as well.
Thank you, Chair. Also on page 52, 2.5.1.3, the boxes of sanitary packs. Chair, if you indulge me for a second, this is something that's very close to my heart, because we, as in my faith-based organization to which I belong, we do the same thing. But we've just said, for example, there must be a need in Delft. Because of my contacts, we contacted the Delft ward councillor, and we worked with the ward councillors. And then my old alma mater, that's the other school that we using amongst other schools. Tell me, is there any collaboration that happens with the other organizations that supply sanitary packs? So you can tell them in collaboration with the WCD where the needs actually lie. So we have a targeted activation, as it were, to sanitary packs. So we know exactly, or is the need just that big that, you know, we need to throw it open and let people just do what they do and kind of hope that we cover everybody. Thank you.
Honourable Van Vogel, on the same page, you were, okay, just hang on with that one. Honourable HOD, Minister, you may answer.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'll ask Mr. Harewood to speak to both of those questions.
Thank you, Jody. Through you, Chair. On social relief, Chair, I wish to indicate that the HOD already said that ever since the 350 social relief plan has been approved and issued to beneficiaries, SASA has reduced all their interventions in terms of the food parcels that they used to have and other social relief interventions. They seem to be concentrating on the 350 due to their budget constraints, as they mentioned. So what we do, if there is any disaster of any kind, and undue hardship from the families, we then refer those beneficiaries, as it is indicated there, just for the benefit of the member, 2511, the actual numbers that were referred to SASA was 2,938, and some of those families were able to receive the 350, and some, due to the qualifying requirements of SASA, might not have received it. But we do not have that stats in terms of how many did not receive. Going forward, yes, this issue continues to put pressure on DSD, because if SASA is unable to do any form of social relief to beneficiaries, those beneficiaries end up coming to social development. And because we still have immediate relief in the form of food parcels, we're able to assist those beneficiaries. And going forward, and with the budget pressures and the budget cuts that are coming, this is an area that is going to be adversely affected in the future. So it's a red flag going forward. On the sanitary dignity projects, yes, we are trying to collaborate with other NPOs and other organizations, including the private sector organizations, that are in the space of providing sanitary packs to the needy girls to avoid duplications. This is not an area that we are able to provide reconciled evidence on, because there are many role players in this area. Our focus now is the school going girl child, and in the identified schools, and there we're able to do our best. Where we find duplications, and some schools alert us that we are already getting from this, and then we, in consultation with the Department of Education, we redirect the supplies of that school to another needy school. So that's what we are doing under the sanitary packs. If there's anything more, Mr. Arnolds, you can kindly add. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Windvogel, your follow-up, please.
Yeah, Chair. I will start with the sanitary issue. I just want to check that we visited, there was oversight done. I can't remember when, and there was I think in Paarl, is it Paarl? I think it's in Paarl. You have a store there, not a store, where you keep the sanitary towels. Is that place still full of is it empty now? Because there's actually tryouts all over of such services. So I just want to know, are we out of stock, or what is happening? Then secondly, Chair, I think the HOD mentioned about the budget cuts when I asked in terms of why didn't we reach the target, you didn't reach the targets, or you didn't achieve your targets. And then when you go to page 53, my question will be, what are the reasons for the under expenditure for this program? It's also disabilities, also related to persons with disability. So now I want to understand, when you do your adjustment budget, are you not, because for me, no, let me rather rephrase. According to me, you by then you know exactly where you're going to underspend and there will be money. Are you not taking that opportunity to transfer money to where you know, okay, there's a gap, we need money there. But now you are having places where you underspend, and we can't allow, because the services needed outside. So I just need clarity there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think that store is empty now, Mr. Ewu. Is that correct? Yeah. The second question on the underspend on disability, that was for the vehicles, wasn't it? That the underspend that the honourable member is referring to was on the disability vehicles, and that was earmarked funds. We didn't have the discretion to redirect anywhere because Treasury had earmarked it for that, and the money was already committed because the vehicles were busy being made. So the money couldn't be moved elsewhere because it had to be kept for the vehicles when they were ready. So the vehicles were contracted to be modified, and they were running late with the modifying process, but the money had to be kept to pay for it. So we couldn't put the money anywhere else. So unfortunately, we didn't have that option. And it was rolled over and spent. It was rolled over to the next year when it was paid. So the money was kept, and then in the new year they paid the service provider. So they just had to wait until the new year to pay because the service provider hadn't finished modifying the vehicle. So the money was still spent, but it was just after April. So yeah, it was ring fence.
Thank you for that. Page 54. Page 55, page 56, page 57, page 58, page 59, page 60, page 61, page 62, page 63, page 64, page 65, page 66, page 67, page 68. Yes, Windvogel, honourable member. We're at page 68. Yes, you may go back to that, no problem. You got that, HOD?
Thanks. I'm just going to get there quickly. It's page 61, 3.6.11. Yeah. So the logistical challenges prevented training of the child and youth care workers. I'll ask TK if he can assist with that, if he's here. The 3.6.1.1. What were the logistical challenges for preventing the training of the child and youth care workers?
The child and youth care workers.
I think it was the Isibindi.
That's correct. Yes, HOD. The child and youth care workers within the Isibindi implementing agencies. There were quite a number of challenges. One, there was also another Isibindi with kind of Isibindi program that was actually done by the Department of Health. So we saw quite a number of child and youth care workers moving to that Isibindi because they were getting more money from that Isibindi. But over and above that, our implementing agencies still have child and youth care workers, and these child and youth care workers are still actually getting regular training. So we don't really have a crisis there, HOD, but we did have a situation where quite a number of them were kind of recruited by the Department of Health, and then there was a lack in that area.
Okay, page 60, page 68, page 69, page 70, page 71, page 72, page 73, page 74. Yes, Honourable Van Voertel. That's the question.
No, sorry. No, Chair, my question, is I want to understand from the department, why will the department underspend on substance abuse and prevention and rehabilitation programs when the matter of substance use disorder is so serious in our province? It's table, I think table J is sub-program expenditure that's under that title. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. That was due to staff exits. Staff left and it took time to fill the posts. So there was saving on the compensation budget side. So where staff left, as I mentioned before, so the staff leave at short notice and then it takes a number of months to fill the posts. And so that results in cost savings.
Thank you. Is that the follow-up? You may go.
Where you underspend on this, do you have a right to transfer of not transfer? Let me use the right word. With the adjustment budget, can you then move these monies to these other programs? I want to understand.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Unfortunately, with COE, Treasury is restricted our reallocation. So we used to be able to move between programs, but now Treasury, because of the financial situation we're in, Treasury is ring-fencing COE, so we can't reassign it without their permission. So yeah, it's and most times they require us to surrender the COE.
Thank you, Honourable Fry.
It's a follow-up on the answer. So going forward, for staff exits and posts being vacant, we stand the real risk of those posts being frozen. Okay.
But you're not comfortable.
Yeah, I
Ask for
think
follow-up.
I'm actually covered by Member Fry. But it's difficult for me to understand when we do adjustment, what is the reason for adjustment budget? If Treasury's view is that we can't. I thought it's perhaps maybe only on certain items. But if you are saying it's now with the new problems that we are experiencing, the Treasury is not allowing us to make changes and transfer money to whatever way the need is, then it becomes a problem. Why are we doing adjustment budgets? It's just my view, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I don't know if CFO, you want to come in?
Thank you, HOD. Through your chair. Yeah, I think we need to maybe understand that for that particular economic classification, which is compensation of employees, that is where Treasury puts a restriction in terms of the free transfer and movement of those funds, specifically given that they also monitor the head counts that each department has and that they need to budget for. So we can shift between programs and sub-programs, but only for COE. We cannot use COE or money to goods and services and so forth. Thank you.
Okay, let's move. Page 74. Looking at outcomes, output indicators, targets, and that sort of thing, assistance to NGOs. It's a highlight for me to read, to see the department doing its utmost to support NGOs, NPOs, and that sort of thing. Do you believe it is a success and that sort of thing, the capacity building that NGOs and NPOs, they benefit from that? That is the one issue. And then on page 75, look, I did want to repeat it. I think we discussed it already previously, but just to re-emphasize, look, poverty is real. It's a reality. It's a major, major issue, just as much as GBV. And there's real hardships out there. Do you find that looking at paragraph 1 on top, food insecure households, provision of food relief, do you think more and more households are making use of the relief that is available out of their own free will? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll ask Mr. Hewu to speak to those two questions.
Chair, through you, thanks, HOD. Yes, Honourable Chair. The evidence we have is the number of people that is growing on a daily basis in the queues where we are supporting beneficiaries. And if you look at the profile of the people queuing for food, it's no longer an ordinary street people that we used to have. It's decent members of the household who have no other option but to go and queue for food in order to have something for that particular day. Unfortunately, our budget, before we received additional 50 million, it was not enough. Now it has been reduced to 25 million. It's putting tremendous pressure. And as we indicated before, it's a recipe for some kind of social conflict because people are really, 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 really hungry. And without this kind of support, it might be a problem. I'm not sure, HOD, if there's anything more you wish to add on this.
Thank you. I think just to say that the COVID grant has been very important, I think, also in assisting people. We fill in the gaps, but the amount of money that the social relief of distress grant has brought is a big thing. And I think the pressure would be much greater on DST if that wasn't there. But the demand just keeps growing, and it's very difficult because a lot of the NGOs we can't support them like we used to because the funds are reducing now, and they are quite desperate and stressed out because the people are coming to them for help and they're desperate, but they don't have enough for everyone. I think on the NPOs side, I'll ask Mr. Ewu to speak to that.
Thanks, Secretary. I just wanted us to complete that particular one because the food issue is a challenge. On the NPO, yes, we do provide training, not only to funded NPOs, we provide training beyond that, and the real numbers and the requests that we receive are growing. And this ICB is an own service intervention. We do not have a service provider, so we are running it in-house. We have gone into the regions of the department to train employed officials so that they can train the NGOs within their own spaces and so on. There are a number of interventions that we gave here. One, the compliance to the NPO Act, is the sustainability of the NPO so that they don't only rely on the government funding. They have the capacity to fundraise on their own. We are running a module called the resource mobilization, which is a fundraising module. And we also draw other partners like the SARS to come and train NPOs on their compliance responsibilities in terms of the NPO Act. My colleague here, Debbie, is here. If there's anything to add, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Ewu. Just to say, colleagues and members, that the challenge is big in the NPO sector and it's getting bigger. Right now, we've got 280,000 registered NPOs in the country, and in the province, 28,000 registered with a non-compliance rate of 58%, 17,000. We are a team of 5. So the department is doing their best. We're working with a lot of partners out there. Community chairs, the NDA, SARS, Department of Labour, but the challenge is big. Thank you.
In relation to that, may I throw it to the department, looking at all the assistance available, why is it that there's still so many deaths as a result of malnutrition?
Sorry, Chair, the question is why are there so many deaths?
Death, yes, of malnutrition. Children died as a result of malnutrition with all the help available.
In this province, there is the figures we have for malnutrition deaths is very low. I don't know what the figures are for the rest of the country, but we get the clinic figures and so on, and there is malnutrition case loads they haven't actually really increased significantly in the last 5 years. So it does seem that the social safety nets are assisting, but there is always cases that will fall through the cracks, and there's always cases of neglect, for example, where the caregiver hasn't looked after the child properly. That can happen. But I think that's what the child protection system is for, is to pick up on those cases, because a child shouldn't be dying of malnutrition given what's available. But sometimes neglect may cause that to happen.
Yeah, it seems to me there is a large kind of a responsibility on the shoulders of parents to make sure that it doesn't happen. But then my second question, down the page 75, temporary work, 1,048 EPWP participants. I'm not sure if that is provincial-wide or if it is only in the city of Cape Town, the metropolitan area. If it is provincial-wide, it's quite a low figure, looking at all the needs out there.
Chairperson, these are just DST's EPWP opportunities. We don't actually have a huge number of EPWP compared to some of the other departments like Public Works or Department of Infrastructure. And it also, of course, the Metro and all the smaller municipalities also have their own EPWP programs as well. So we only account for a small segment. But we lost a big chunk of EPWP numbers when the program the ECD program went over to education, because the bulk of our EPWP numbers were made up of ECD assistants. So when ECD moved to education during the year under review, all of those EPWP numbers went with it. So we lost all those EPWP numbers to education, and they gained those numbers.
Okay, that is Vogel, I can see you want to say something. You may.
Perhaps I'm a bit slow this today. Chair, on the EPWP workers, is that the reason why you didn't reach your target? Your target was not reached. Was that the reason? Okay. Then Chair, on the previous one, this institutional capacity building, ICB, and support for NPOs. Why did the organization withdraw from the program? And what reasons did it give? What are the details of the non-compliant organizations? Did the department lose any funds as a result of the non-compliance? And if so, are there mechanisms to recover funds transfer to an organization when it's no longer compliant? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The ICB Institutional Capacity Building Program is for NGOs that are funded as well as NGOs that are not funded by social development. So sometimes it will be organizations we don't fund, and if they pull out, it doesn't have any financial implication for social development per se. But if we lose, if NGOs are non-compliant and they've misused funds, generally we have a process to recover those funds with the assistance of the state attorney and legal services. We pursue litigation to recover funds where we have evidence of misuse of funds. But that is not the issue in this particular case. This is organizations pulling out of training. So I'll ask Mr. Ewo to speak to what reasons there may have been for the organizations from withdrawing from the training.
Thank you, Jody. I think you have summarized it correctly. We chose 12 NPOs to mentor and coach them so that they are fully compliant with the NPO Act. Now, there's a lot of work involved. We go to them, we coach, they are given assignments. In the next engagement, they must report on what they did and so on. So this particular organization felt that it's too much. They do not have the time and the resources to take corrective actions. They opted to withdraw from the coaching exercise. There were no financial resources given to the organization. Yes, there was time and resources in terms of government cars and the personnel that will visit and coach the organization. Otherwise, the summary given by the HOD is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I see no hands. Let's move then. We've done page 75, page 76, page 77, page 78, page 79, page 80, page 81, page 82, page 83, page 84. Here we can see the budgets, violence against women, homeless shelters, etc., etc. But we've dealt with most of these issues, even COVID-19. Increased support for families due to COVID-19, the 7.5 million, you can see that. And then all the other issues we discussed so far as yet food relief, social distress, etc. That for me is saturated as far as I'm concerned. There you see on page 85, conditional grants issues. This afternoon we will be with SCOPA to take all of these matters much further. I don't think there's a need for us to continue to discuss this. Then you see on page 86. Anyone? No one? Page 87. Page 88. And then page 89. That is then part B. With regard to part C from page 90 to page 104, we don't need to discuss that. It will be extensively discussed this afternoon at our SCOPA session. That will be 2:00 today. If there's any particular question a member want to ask, I'm not going to stop you. You are most welcome if you want to. But it will be covered this afternoon during that SCOPA session. Then I'm going to move. Let's look at part D then. That is for us to deal with.
You are saying 50% of that are in a fair usable condition. Can you provide details? Because 50%. Yeah, can you provide details of assets that are in fair condition? And if you say 50%, that means the other 50%, what is happening? Can you just clarify that for me, thanks?
Sorry, you may.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yeah, on page 88, as stated there, we every year do a type of almost, I would gonna call it a desktop evaluation, because it's very expensive if we do it through a service provider. So we basically came up with the understanding that 45% of our assets would be in good usable condition, and that 50% thereof would be in fair use, as far as condition is. So what we must understand is that it's still usable. It is not brand new. It most probably has been here for a couple of years already. If we take some of our computers, some of them have warranties of 3 years only, but we use them up to 6 years, so that we don't have to spend too much money on that. So that becomes a fair usage type of thing. And then 5% is normally in a poor condition, where we make provision that we will have to replace some of those assets. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's then move. I'm on page 107, 108, 109, 110, 111. We had questions about vacancies already. There's a follow-up. Honourable Vogel, you may.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mine is then on page 111. I think it's table 321. I just want to check with the department. 61 vacancies. Yeah, you need to correct me if I'm wrong. What is the reason for not filling 61 vacancies? You can correct me if I'm wrong. Because remember, in respect of the failure to fill 31 vacancies for social workers, how does this contribute to the challenges of high unemployment rate for social workers? And how did these vacancies affect the function of the department?
Actually.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. Again, I think it's the same issue referred to earlier. With the staff turnover in the department always means that there's going to be some vacancies because of the time lag between people leaving and the time we can appoint their replacement. So it's always a problem for us. We have staff turnover, people leave 1 month's notice, and then we take 6 months to fill the post. So at any given time, we're always sitting with some vacancies, always. But that's the cost of having a very onerous recruitment selection process in a public service. It's the bigger the department, the bigger the problem. But also in social development, we have a particular difficulty as well in some of our units with finding suitable candidates, and that's the other problem we sit with. So particularly with child and youth care workers, we battle to find suitable candidates. We get many applicants, but then for the facility environment, but then when we do criminal checks on them, a lot of them come up with criminal records. and we can't appoint people with criminal records to work with children. So unfortunately, quite often we have a recruitment process and we can't use all of the people, so we can't fill all of the vacancies, and we have to then do another recruitment process, and it takes longer. So that is often the problem we sit with, is not being able to fill posts, particularly in the facilities where we have a huge number of people. Our facilities have hundreds of child and youth care workers, so it also creates an issue.
Thanks for that, HOD. A follow-up?
Ja, Chair, ek hoor die HOD wat, hi. 61. There's something wrong with the whole process. That's my view. Understaffed, and now one staff member must do 10 other staff members' job. It's not fair. So we really need to relook and strategize how are we going to, because we can't say every year the same story. We are singing the same song each and every year. It's not it's not right. It can't be. So really, we really need to look into this matter. And it can't be that all of the applicants are criminals outside. We need to do things differently. We are sitting with a high unemployment rate, and here we do have money. We have the vacancies is available. We can employ more people. So it's unacceptable. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Minister, I'm not sure who's going to answer that one.
I think it's really difficult. We actually find ourselves in a bind now where we don't know what the future holds. And you might have heard that there might have to be a freeze on posts and. So until we get finality, and the recruitment process takes a while. So we don't do our own recruitment. It gets done through a shared services facility. And it could take anything between 6 to 9 months to get somebody on that seat, which does have an impact on those that are left behind, unfortunately.
So you are saying you, Minister, and HOD is beyond your control. That is the policy, that is the process.
It's not the policy. You can't sing the same song each and every year, Chairperson.
Yeah, I think, Chair, in fact, it's becoming worse because the requirements for appointments are becoming even more onerous, and there's even more red tape required. And it starts with DPSA, unfortunately. DPSA is creating more and more red tape for us. It's a big problem. It's a really big problem.
And am I correct in saying that that's what we are hearing, the proposed budget cuts, lesser money, lesser budget available will definitely aggravate the situation?
Yes, it will. I think our strategy now is we're going to have to look to see how we can get the NGOs to assist us as best possible with transfer funding, because we can move faster with that. You know, the filling of posts, I mean, every single person we appoint they have to go through the whole recruitment selection. They have to be screened for criminal records and all of those things. We have to wait for the SAPs for that information. That becomes another bottleneck as well. And I think the recruitment and selection process itself is quite cumbersome. The posts have to be advertised in the Government Gazette, which doesn't get advertised every week. We have to wait for that. So everything in the process it's like a whole pipeline. Where we do try to mitigate the situation is we try to piggyback. So if we get a good process with good candidates, then we will try and use that process to fill posts in other sections of the department so that we can speed up things. So there are ways of doing it that we can try to help, but it's not always possible. It really depends, because we're across our whole province as well, so we can't centrally recruit social workers. So, for example, we say, okay, we want to recruit social workers to fill posts in George and Beaufort West and in Saldanha. But you can't really do that because the people have to apply locally where they are. So we have to do separate processes for each of those things, if you understand. So it's a little bit difficult geographically. It's easier in the metro because you can do one process for the whole city and just say, okay, we appoint people in Khayelitsha, Mitchell's Plain, and Dunoon, whatever. But with the province as a whole, you can't do that. So it is a bit tricky, unfortunately. And where we have particular challenges as well is trying to fill the child and youth care posts in the garden route for Outeniqua. We really battle to get applicants there. Not a lot of people apply for those jobs. Because remember, now there's a new requirement for child and youth care workers. They have to be registered. It didn't used to be the case, but now child and youth care workers have to be registered too. So that also narrows the pool of people that we can find to recruit.
Thank you for that detailed information, HOD. Okay, we've done page 115. We're with 116, 117, 118, 119. I think very important on page 118 is the reasons why staff resigned. Things we talk about already, but it's just important for us to note once again. Then 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125. Honourable Member Windvogel.
Yeah, on page 123, Chair.
Yes.
Table 3.5.2. Total number of employees with disability. It is really sad to see the department employing such small number of persons living with disability. And I think the department can do better on this, especially your Department of Social Development. So what are the plans to create more opportunities for persons with disability? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The recruitment of persons with disability is built into our employment equity plan. And we do prioritize accordingly, but we also we have quite a lot of people in the department who could be included in those figures who choose not to declare their disability for one reason or other. So we have been trying to get people to declare or disclose their disability for purposes of EE, but not everyone wants to do that. So the figures that you see are lower than the actual reality, but yeah, that's the other aspect as well. But yeah, it is part of our employment equity plan, and we do prioritize where we can, but it is dependent on who applies for the post and whether we actually get candidates.
Thank you very much. No further hands I've seen. Page 125, page 126, page 127, page 128, page 129. Yes, Honourable Member.
I just want to understand how are promotion used to achieve your employment equity targets?
Thank you, Chairperson. The promotions, there's not actually promotions in public service. You can't promote people. You can only do a recruitment selection process, and then people apply for that post. And then the applicants are then considered and appointed based on the outcome of the recruitment selection process, and the employment equity considerations are part of the final decision making, and so they are considered alongside the scoring and the performance assessment that is done. So that's the only mechanisms we have available to us to do that in terms of the rules of the public service.
Thank you. You covered, Member. Can we now proceed? Page 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, all the salary stuff. Yeah, honorable member, you may go. Is it page 130? You got that one, actually?
So it's table 3.72.
Table 3.71.
Oh, 71. That's the regional director for Winelands. I think that's one of the posts that's in the recruitment and selection process at the moment. So yes, so that's the one director post. Director for Winelands region. That was mentioned on the organogram as well. It's a process. It's in the recruitment selection process.
State the 134, I think so.
You may go.
Yeah. Table 3.92, foreign workers, major occupation. Can you provide more information on 4 individuals, including their countries of origin and the critical skill they bring to the job? Where were there no qualified South African available for the position? 134, page 134. They were already fighting each other. South Africans, and now we are.
That is table 3.9.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I see that. I'm not sure of the details of when they were appointed. I don't know, Ms. Patel.
I think the question is if they are foreign workers from somewhere in Africa or Europe, wherever in the world they're coming from. I think, am I right, honorable member? Foreign workers from other countries. Foreign nationals, other countries, yeah.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. So the breakdown of the 4 people, the 4 foreigners that are working for us, in terms of where they come from, 3 are Zimbabweans and 1 is from the Republic of Congo. And if I look at what work they're doing, the 1 is a child and youth care worker, 1's an admin officer, and 2 are social workers. So, Chair, if you consider the fact that we have over 2,400 employees who worked for us during the period under review, appointing 4 foreigners is really minuscule. It's less than 0.5%, and it's not such a big impact on us.
But they do have all their working papers.
Absolutely. They would have to meet all the requirements in order to work legitimately within the country, Chair.
Yeah. Follow up?
Chair, I want to understand what skill are they bringing to us? HR, you can get someone out of school or where HR qualifications. So what skill are they bringing? You need to explain to me the skill they are bringing to us.
I'm not sure that is a requirement in this particular instance. They weren't brought here on the basis of a scarce skill. That's a immigration matter.
Qualified for the position.
Yeah, it's not an immigration matter. They were applicants in a process, and they were nominated in that process. So It's a different question. Scarce skill would be applicable to people who would like to get a work visa, but when people are already in the country with a permanent residency, they don't need to have a scarce skill. Yes.
The work papers is in place. They are granted by the Department
They were
of
already
Home
they were
Affairs.
already here,
They're
permanent
living here for
residents.
a number of years.
Yeah, so it's not, they didn't come, we didn't bring them from overseas for the post. They were
And they
already here
apply
with
like
permanent-
anyone else for
Correct,
the
yes.
position.
Yes.
Okay. That's different. May I ask the Honourable Member Ayanda Bans, just for the record that you are present and here, that you just announce it yourself, please. I did receive the notice that you will be late.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good day to everyone. My name is Ayanda Bans, member of the Standing Committee.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member. Okay, we got that one. I was on page 135, page 136, page 137, page 138, page 139, page 140, page 141, page 142, 143, 144, 145. No one, you're quite comfortable, honourable members. 146, 147, 148, 149. I think that is it for this section part D. Let me just say that is up to 149. With regard to the following session, part E and part F, if there's a particular question the members want to ask, you may do so, but it might not be necessary because this section will be dealt with by Scopa also this afternoon. So we don't need to pay attention to that if you are okay with that. But if not, and you have a pressing question from that section, part E and F, financial information, I will allow you to do that. If not, I don't see any members of the public online in this room. I don't even notice any notification of any written question or something like that from an NGO, a CBO, or an NPO, nothing. No need to ask members of the public for any input. Then I can move on. Honourable members, you okay with that? Then I want to ask, that is then the end of our session. May I ask the Minister, Honourable Minister, and the HOD for any closing remarks from your side? If any, you don't need to, but if you wish to, you may do so, please.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and to the members. As always, the questions are robust, transparent, and wherever we can, we try and provide appropriate answers to the questions. I think we went through this one very quickly, as you said, but we will be back at 2 o'clock. But it is important for me, whilst I have the full team, well, most of the team of the senior management team of DSD, to say that whatever it is we have done as a department is attributed to an entire team. And that includes the child and youth care worker at a center, a cleaner, wherever it might be, because it really is a team effort. And then also just to thank the staff in the ministry, who really are the wind beneath my wings, and then Dr. MacDonald for steering the ship, and especially through some really rough waters together with the seniors. So thank you, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity to present ourselves.
HOD, anything from your side?
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to say thank you to the Chair and Committee for the opportunity to present our story and to answer questions and also to share the Minister's appreciation for the staff and management of the department, and also to thank the Minister for her leadership and oversight of the department as well. I think we will get into the other financial issues later on today. So I'm sure we'll have another opportunity to go into areas we didn't cover now. But thank you very much, Chairperson.
Let me from my side use the opportunity to thank you, Honourable Minister and Honourable HOD, all your staff, senior, lower ranking, whatever, on your good audit finding. I think that's a highlight. That is what everybody looking for. How are we dealing with the monies of the people? I'm not saying the monies of the state, because we all pay taxes and that sort of thing. So it's monies of the people. Then I want to thank you. I think one of the main reasons, as far as I'm concerned, for a lesser amount of questions is we sent letters of invitation to your officers to come and address us on particular issues. So most of the issues have been dealt with before. You come here, you come and account, you come and answer, we ask our fair share of questions and that sort of thing. And we can see most of those issues in the report as well. So on that note, I want to say to you, continue. I will be with you now, Honourable Member. Continue with the good work. To work with people, to work with social ills and human issues and that sort of thing, and to see the trauma, to see the hardships out there. It doesn't sit well with many, many people, and I don't want to know sometimes the tears and that sort of thing, the emotional status of your personnel and that sort of thing. When they see the hardships, they feel it and that sort of thing. But in the manner you carry out your work so diligently, I think from time to time we need to say that. We need to say to the staff, thank you for a job well done. Thank you so much, all of you. Windvogel, Honourable Member, you want the last word.
I have to run and relieve myself. So we were sitting here the whole morning. But on my way, I met one of the public members also in the loo. And I'm worried. They are saying that we are done. And I'm worried that there's the possibility that she will not have a chance to raise her view. So my plea to you is to allow her a 1 minute or 2 minutes.
Who's the person?
I met her.
Okay. I did ask if members of the public are present with us, and I did not get such an indication. Were you late for the session? May I ask, lady? Okay. Okay, we still have a little bit of time, but I first need your name, the NGO you represent, and please come and sit here next to the mic. Could someone just help the lady there, please? Yes. And to switch on the mic for her, you may sit down.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Just lower the mic a bit. That's it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Plater, I would address this question to you. I hear all these budgets and I hear about all these finances. So I've got one question to you, Mr. Plater. I hear about the walking bus and I hear about the safety youth ambassadors being unemployed. So I'm asking, what is the city and what is the provincial government doing for these women? Majority of these women are unemployed for 3 years by the Western Cape government. They've pleaded, they've reached out to the media. They've cried out for help, nothing is done. Some of these mothers, single mothers, has turned to prostitution. Some of these youths that was on this program has turned to drugs. So I'm asking again, what is the Western Cape government is going to do in order to assist these single mothers? Safety Youth Ambassador Program has been addressed with Ms. Helen Ziller, the Premier, Regan Allen, and the Mayor itself. So I'm asking again, what is the provincial government going to do in order to save these mothers?
Yeah. May I ask you, first and foremost, we need to know to whom we are talking, to your name.
My name is Nuria. My surname is Eli. My name is Nuria. My surname is Eli.
And your organization?
Unfortunately,
You're an individual on your own.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. I think the projects, Honourable Minister, you must assist me. I think it is City of Cape Town based projects. you're talking about. Women for Change, I know, City of Cape Town. Safety Ambassador Program.
Safety Youth Ambassadors we're speaking about?
City of Cape Town, unfortunately. It is not provincial government programs. I think, HOD, you must help me. Not. HOD says no, it is not our projects and programs.
This was a project that was run through the safety department, the officers of docks. And for 3 years, we've tried to get the attention of government. We've pleaded with the Premier. We've pleaded with Ms. Helen Ziller. She says she's no longer in politics. She's only there to assist where she can. I've addressed the mayor. The mayor said to me, this is not an issue for the city. So then I went back to the Premier and I asked him what can be done. Until the day I'm waiting for an answer, and yet his mothers are still unemployed.
I think what you must do after the meeting, this is a secretariat sitting here to give them your particulars so that we can follow up on that. You mentioned docs. We will have to take it back to docs and to see what docs are doing about it. If any of the programs is for them to deal with, I think that is the best way we can deal with the issue. HOD?
Chairperson, yeah, that was a Department of Community Safety initiative. So the question would need to be put to them in terms of I do recall they had the walking buses and it's community safety.
Yeah, but that counts. Yeah, that is the one for community safety. But the others is, I know it. I'm coming from the city. That was City of Cape Town wide projects and programs. But we will follow up and we will bring you an answer. Okay.
Well, then, I wait your answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. On that note, thank you. I don't hear or see any other person from the public online and in the house. I need to double check and make 100% sure. And that is then the meeting. I would respectfully ask the officials, the minister, the HOD, to vacate, the members to stay behind. I believe there is lunch prepared, and that sort of thing. You may move to the back.
All right.
Don't worry, don't worry.
I think so.
Oh, you might as well get used to this.
I was really, it was like, yeah, I did all over social media, it was crazy. So when we was here, down at my I just want to, yes, you know what I'm saying? So, yes, yes. No, you actually have to. I need to the lady who did. She said, she's going to be okay. No, you're fully there together. Okay. You are just getting ready. You'll be the same ambassadors, not a professor. Is it no, I
Honourable members, any recommendations from your side? I believe there's a couple. Honourable Windvogel?
Yeah, Chair, mine is, I really try to understand the response from the DHOD and the minister on the issue of filling posts. And I'm not getting it. So I really do want to understand the DPSA. So we are actually blaming the DPSA for the failure of employing social workers. That's what we are actually saying. So I don't know how my view into a recommendation, but we can't sing the same song each and every year about DPSA. We can't fill services. Vacancies have an impact on services. We do have the unemployment here. We are screaming. Our youngsters they are finished studying, but they are unemployed. But we do have positions. So how are we going to deal with the issue? I try to think how we can put a recommendation. And I want you guys who are
I think the recommendation for me is quite clear, as you have put it. I think we must just put the question like that. Why is it that the employment timeframe is so onerous? Is 6 to 9 months. They need to explain. And they refer to DPSA. What role does DPSA play in all of this? That we ask it like that, a blunt question. Let's see what is the feedback we get from them. But DPSA is all departments across the country falls under DPSA with regard to employment. Then it's a nationwide, countrywide policy we all need to comply with. But doesn't stop us to ask the question, why? It mustn't be the employment time frame rate for me should be anything between 3 to 4 months more than anything else.
And if I listen to him correctly, the HOD is saying there is other revenues. The metro is much better if they use that, but it's difficult when you go to the rural areas.
Yeah.
Perhaps if that is, then they need to,
What do you mean by saying they use NGOs? So they then pay the NGO. The NGO pays the staff member. That make it much easier. Then what is the correct English now? Dan omseil hulle die DPSA process. It's a clever way of doing it. But then we need to ask them why not pursuing that route. Yeah, to employ more people. Okay, are you done, Honourable Member? Okay, I've got 3, 4 other issues. The radio program, information we need to receive.
Which one? Check.
That's on page 20. Where's page 20 now? That was the question to the media liaison officer.
About the budget.
That was about the budget. She needed
The issue teacher gave the answer for that. I think it was the budget that was allocated to that to the GBV budget allocation. And the lady said she was going to check the number, but the issue later answered said it was 444.
Okay.
It's
fine. Then what I wasn't happy with, I didn't want to labor the issue. We had a presentation a joint presentation by Social Development and Health about malnutrition. And the figure at the time was very high. Today, they say the figure is not so high. And I didn't want to ask follow-up questions pertaining to that. As a recommendation that they explain to us what is the latest malnutrition figure rate for the Western Cape. If that is coupled to the current social economical status we experience in South Africa or in the province, and what is it the department doing about that? Then the second one, Honourable Baku Force asked the question, and I made a note of that one. How does the safety plan address the current rape issue in the province? Because our rape figure is also quite high. And she asked the correlation between the two, if the safety plan do address the rape figure and how. I think that's it from my side. Honourable Fry.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted on the staff exits, just the breakdown of the staff exits by region. So we can see where the gaps are, coupled with the vacancy rate. So we can see where the gaps are and then try to fill it. I'm just concerned, looking ahead, thinking strategically, that staff exits were at 200 and odd, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. But if the staff exits now for the coming financial year, for this financial year, if the posts are frozen, then we're going to have a serious problem. So my concern is, and I hear Member Van Vogel on her resolution. I hear, but I just want to add a caveat that we must also be aware that if there's staff, if the process are frozen because of budgetary constraints, then the department is going to sit with a serious, a bigger problem on staff exits and stuff. So staff health and wellness, safety and wellness, and the breakdown of the staff exits by region, so we can see where the gaps are. Thank you.
Yanda.
You can call me out of order, Chair, when I'm out of order, but I just want to ask this one. In fact, I want to put it to the question raised by Member Bakufos on the sexual offences through the safety plan. I understand that GBV is in this department. So my interest would be how many GBV NGOs are budgeted for by the department? If we can just get a list of them, or what kind of support is given to the GBV program? How much? I actually want to see how much attention it gets from the department. If we can get that, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, that is not an out of line question. It's baie regverdige vraag. Look, yeah, but I think in the report they make reference to the assistance to many of the NGOs. But all you are doing is you just narrow it down. That's no problem. Okay, I think that is it. There's no one else. Honorable Gillian Bosman, you comfortable? You okay?
Yes, I am, Chairperson. I'm covered. Thank you.
You are covered. Thank you so much. Guys, I think that is it from my side. We have dealt with the recommendations, and that is then our annual report tabling and meeting. And I am awaiting for 2 o'clock this afternoon to sit with Scopa so that we can go through all the financial matters with them. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.